Welcome to another exciting biblical story. Last time we heard that Isaac was about to die and he wanted to bless his sons. And, Jacob betrayed Esau. And first he betrayed him. He took the right of being the firstborn. And also now he took the blessing from Esau. And Esau hated his brother Jacob very much, and he even wanted to kill him. But Rebekah, the mother, she said, "Jacob, you have to go, because Esau hates you so much. And I want you to marry a relative from us. Go back to Haran. Go back to our relatives." The wives, the heathen wives of Esau, they harm me so much and I cry and it's so bad. So I love you, my son, but go and find a beautiful woman for you at the place where our forefathers live. So Jacob left his home, perhaps in the middle of the night, and he was walking through the desert. It's hot in the desert, and soon after he got very tired. So he found a stone in the desert and he was going to sleep. And suddenly he had a mighty experience. He saw that a ladder was going from the earth to heaven, and angels were going up and down the ladder. And you know what? At that time, Jacob started to pray himself. I don't know if he prayed before, but he built an altar to God and he prayed, "Oh God, if you protect me on the journey, and if you bring me safely home to my family, to my father and my mother, I will give you my whole life. I belong to you." So he continued his journey, and a few days later he came to the place where his forefathers lived, his relatives, Laban and his family. And there was a well, and of course he was very thirsty in the desert, and he was resting there. And suddenly a beautiful woman came. Her name was Rachel, and she was watering her father's flocks. And when Jacob saw her, he was falling in love with her immediately, like a fire in his heart. And so he talked to her, and he was invited to the family of Laban, and he was welcomed. And Laban said, "You can work here if you want. What will be your payment?" "Oh, I love Rachel so much. I would love to work for her. And my greatest gift is if she would be my wife." "Yes, you can work 7 years, okay?" Oh, 7 years he had to work very hard in the desert, in the heat, during the day, looking for the sheep and the flocks of his future father-in-law. Was not easy. But he loved Rachel so much that he thought it's like one day. He loved her so much. So the day came when the wedding could be. Remember, Jacob betrayed his brother Esau, right? What happens a few years later? Jacob is betrayed too. I said in another program, what you sow, you will reap. You can see this in the story too. Jacob was betraying his brother Esau, and now he was also betrayed. You know, they were holding the wedding, and at night he didn't get Rachel as wife. He got Leah. And Leah was not attractive at all. He didn't love her. So he was so hurt. Said, Laban, what are you doing with me? I've worked for 7 years, and your sheep and your flock had no harm. I watched over them day and night, and now you're betraying me. Jacob was not happy at all because he loved Rachel so much. And now he was deceived by Laban, like he did to his brother. And he said, oh, I love Rachel so much. Okay, Laban said, have another wedding ceremony for 7 days and I give you Rachel too, but you have to work another 7 years for her. Imagine working 14 years for 2 wives. That was not easy. So Jacob reaped what he has been sowing. So deceiving or tricking is never good. Don't do it. So after these years, he was working so hard, and then he said, Laban, I need my own sheep and goats. Please give me a loan. Just let me have the spotted goats and sheep. Because before that, in a dream, God showed him that he would get his loan for his work, that he will get many, many spotted sheep. And where the sheep and goats were drinking, he put branches on the ground, and where the sheep and goat came together, they saw that. And he always chose the healthy ones. And so he got many, many goats and sheep. And the time came where he got very, very rich. And Laban was envying him, and he was not as nice as he was before. So Jacob took his wives and children and was fleeing from Laban. And you know, Leah had many, many children because God saw that Jacob loved Rachel more than her. So he gave her many sons. And then they started to give their maids to him, and they also had sons. But Rachel had no son for a long, long time, and she prayed to God, oh, please, God, give me a son. And finally, she got an own son, Rachel. And of course, you know that Jacob loved Rachel so much. He, of course, loved this son, Joseph, very, very much. This again caused envy by his brothers, which had later a bad ending. So they were fleeing from Laban. And of course it took a long time to move because of the women and the children and the many sheep and goats and the flock. You know, it was such a large crowd, and Laban had an easy game to follow them very fast. But God warned him and said, don't do any harm to Jacob and his family. Let him go. So when he arrived, he said to Jacob, this is everything what you own is mine. No, it's not. No, it's not. God gave it, and I worked hard for it. Okay, But why have you stolen my idols? My idol is gone. And Jacob didn't know that Rachel had stolen this idol. And she was hiding it in her tent under a camel seat. And she was sitting on it and said, you know, you can't touch me, I'm unclean. And so they didn't find the idol. And Laban left and let them go. And then Jacob was very much afraid to meet Esau. So he sent the wife and the children. He sent over the Jabbok River. And many sheep and goats. And the shepherds were told to tell Esau, this is all a present from your brother Jacob. And you know, even all his wives and all his children, he was, you know, taking over the Jabbok River. All his wife and children went before him. Why? He should have gone before them. A man should protect the wife. But God was stronger. So at that night, Jacob had another experience with God. There was someone like an angel fighting with him. And Jacob said, I will not let you go, either you bless me. Please bless me. And this angel blessed him, and he said, your name will be not anymore Jacob, but your name will be Israel, Prince with God. And before he left the angel, he struck Israel on his hip, and then Israel was limping. And when he met Esau, you know, the servant said, oh, all these goats and sheep are a blessing for you, Esau, from your brother Jacob. And finally they met, and Israel, former Jacob, was limping, and was limping towards Esau, and they got friends again. That was wonderful. And how the story continues, I will tell you in the next program.